Okay, perfect. Welcome, everybody. I'm Mia Peterson, Executive Director and CEO for the New Mexico Tech Council. And the New Mexico Technology Council, we're an association that really works to support economic prosperity in New Mexico through technology. We do that a number of ways. And today's webinar is an example of that. We're really excited to bring together our partners from across the state to talk about why New Mexico is the ultimate launch pad for tech startups. And not just tech, but since we're the Technology Council, that's definitely our focus. So you're gonna hear from great departments who have a lot to offer. As I mentioned earlier, we will send a recap with contact information so you can learn more. And then if you're interested in learning more about the Technology Council, feel free to reach out to me. Without further delay, I'm excited to hand it over to Director Myers-Sackett from the New Mexico Economic Development Department, Office of Science and Technology.
Thank you, Mia. I'm gonna go ahead and share my screen. Perfect. So thank you, Mia. I'm going to try and run through these slides quickly to be mindful of time and leave time for any questions if there is. My name is Nora Myers-Sackett. I'm the Director of the Office of Strategy, Science, and Technology at the state within the Economic Development Department. We work to connect New Mexico's innovation infrastructure to the commercial market, support science and tech startup growth, both homegrown and also supporting relocation and growth of startups and science and tech companies into New Mexico. And broadly, we just work to support all things science and tech economic growth here in the state. Excuse me. We focus primarily on 5 sectors: advanced computing, which we define as including quantum technologies, cybersecurity, artificial intelligence, advanced energy and water technologies, aerospace, bioscience, and intelligent manufacturing. And we support those sectors through a variety of programs. First and probably largest in our portfolio are our grants. We currently offer 4 non-dilutive funding awards. And as part of the follow-up material you receive will be a flyer and more information on our grants. But the next 2 coming up later this year are our SBIR and SITR matching grant. So this is if you have an active or very recently to be active federal SBIR or SITR award, and we provide additional funds to support business development around that technology for which you are doing a SBIR. We also provide a science and tech business startup grant. I'm so sorry, I just have to cough. Excuse me. We also provide a science and technology business startup grant that is a bit of a lower amount than our SBIR and SITR. You don't need to have an active federal funding award. God, I'm so sorry. Bad timing. Inhaled a peanut before this.
Take your time. I know with all of this wind, my allergies are extreme today too. So I think you're in good company for one reason or another.
Thank you, Mia. There we go. Our science and tech business startup grant provides also non-dilutive funding for business development purposes. So some examples of uses for these funds often are intellectual property work, market research, customer discovery, elements like that. It's not limited to those ones I just said, but those are some very frequent ones for these 2 grants. We also have 2 newer awards. So launched this year is our Quantum Technologies Award. We just announced the first awardee yesterday, which is Mesa Quantum, which is a startup currently headquartered in Colorado. And with this grant, they're going to be establishing a presence in New Mexico. So we're very excited about that. And also yesterday was a big day for OSST. Yesterday, we also had our finalist pitch event for the 2nd ever year of our Advanced Energy Award pilot program. And yesterday, we awarded a little over $3 million to 5 awardees in advanced energy tech being developed and commercialized right here in New Mexico. So we're very excited about that. One other funding element that we did this year that has flown a little bit under the radar just because of capacity for media attention, but our plan is to do it again next year and kind of do it up more. But we did a request for proposals for funding for pilot projects in advanced energy or water treatment. And so we were looking for technologies that had been proven at bench scale but yet not yet piloted or demoed at true scale. And so we made two awards, one full and one partial with this funding. And those pilot demonstrations are under construction. They're underway in southern New Mexico, and we're excited to have some more announced about those as things continue moving along. Another new program, you'll notice talking about a lot of new things. Another new program this year is our business assistance program. I'm joined here by Lindsay Humphreys, who is our OSST entrepreneurship coordinator and is taking over as lead on this program. And we have partnered with 5 local entities as contractors to OSST to provide business assistance for business development, sector specific business development to these our 5 target sectors. And more information on that can be found on our website, which will be linked in the follow-up information we send out. Lastly, there's a lot of new things coming our way. I just want to be sure to hit on because it's really exciting. So you'll notice I said a lot of things that I covered recently were new. 2 new grant awards, a new business assistance program. So our office has grown a lot. It has tripled in size in the past couple of years. We're still pretty small, but we've tripled in size. We've added a lot more funding and programmatic funding deployment, which has been very exciting, very well received in the ecosystem and in the region. And so we have new things coming our way as well. So recently signed was House Bill 20 coming out of the legislative session, which creates the Technology and Innovation Division. So currently my office is an office within a division, and essentially it is elevating the office to division status. But we're going to be rebranding it a little bit to call it the Technology and Innovation Office, or TO, because that's more fun than TID. This means that we'll be getting more staff, which is great because we are always a little short on capacity, which is great because that means there's a lot going on in the ecosystem in New Mexico, a lot of things for us to be involved with. So we'll be adding people to our team to be able to provide additional resources, which is really exciting. And as part of that bill that was passed, was also created the Research Development and Deployment Fund, which was seeded with $40 million to provide essentially matching funding for businesses, universities, coalitions seeking federal awards and other grant funding. So really seeding a fund to be able to provide additional financial support, which is really exciting. Also in the budget this year were these 3 elements. So there was $20 million appropriated to the state for a quantum venture studio and shared incubation space. There's $10 million appropriated to us for support for innovation hubs and entrepreneurship accelerators, and $12 million coming to my office for additional support for our science and technology grants, which is a major increase in terms of yearly dollar amount. So a lot going on at OSST, soon to be TO, and we're very excited about it. And I think I'll end there and can answer a couple questions.
All right, I don't see any hands up. We don't have anything in the chat. So any other, let me just check. Okay, Paul, go ahead. Paul Perez.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. I was just wondering if and I might have not caught this, but will we have access to the PowerPoints or this PowerPoint in particular?
I'm happy to send this to Mia if that works for you, Mia, to go out with the materials.
Yes, we can do
Perfect.
that. We can do
Thank
that.
you
And
so
if
much.
and if it's too large to share via email, we can create a link to a secure drive.
Thank you.
Yeah. All right, Angelica.
Yeah, just a quick question on the funding for Innovation Hub and entrepreneurial accelerators. Can you tell us a little bit about the criteria of what qualifies as a hub or accelerator?
We are still in the planning phase for that. So this came in the budget that was just recently signed. So we haven't had the language with us for that long. So we're still in the planning phases for that. That will likely go out via an RFP. We'll solicit proposals for use of those funds. Um, so I do hope to have additional details for that, in the near future to be able to give out to people. I know it's a little broad as it's currently phrased. But we are in the planning phases for details.
Okay, sounds good. Thank you.
Eric.
Sure, and I see a couple of questions in the chat as well. I'll just, some of us were at that Meg Whitman conversation, which was really, I don't know, a little inspiring and a good jolt of good energy. One of the things that she brought up, I'm just curious, was really about the talent that's available now that has become available because of different funding situations at the federal government and many of the different programs that are not being funding. Is there any thought, and I don't know that there's a real mechanism to do this, but is there any thought about how we might make it to take advantage of that?
Yes, there is. I didn't include it in my spreadsheet, but also in the budget for the Economic Development Department is a line item for $10.8 million for talent recruitment and retention in the public and private sectors focused on emerging high yield and high tech fields. So again, not to sound like a very boring broken record, we're in the planning phases of how we're going to deploy that. But there is funding, there is an intent to kind of, pursue additional talent recruitment for the state. That could be in that vein of federal. I think on the surface, that sounds very exciting. I think detail wise, it gets a little complicated in terms of people live in DC, et cetera, et cetera. But that is certainly our intent to pursue that. So we're identifying how to best deploy those funds.
Thank you.
Thanks, Eric. All right, Director, in the chat, one of the questions was from Tracy. Any chance we can get rid of gross receipts tax? It's a bit of a non-starter for startups. I'll chime in on this one. I hear you, Tracy. I think GRT is like a universal, right, for all businesses, not just tech and not just startup. So I think if we can, I'd like to maybe put that one on pause just because we're on limited time and address the second question in the chat. Are the grants for startups only, or are some available for existing businesses? So established versus spinning up. Also, given the uncertainty with federal grants and the cuts, will funding be separate from federal grants? So I think Pam's asking, could they be affected on the state level?
Yeah, great question. So these grants are identified as being for early stage companies. So when I'm saying startup, I'm typically referring to it being early stage. I'd have to double check our criteria. There may be have existed for less than X years, but I can't 100% remember off the top of my head. So don't hold me to that. But what I'm trying to say is that yes, you can have been in existence. Most companies receiving our grant funding didn't spin up the week before they applied for our funding. We're focused more on the stage, so early stage, high growth potential tech and innovation companies. With federal funding, all of the funding I just mentioned is state funding. So none of the funds that I just went over are coming from the feds, and none of them are affected by federal funding, which is incredible and very very happy. I think the only thing that would be affected there is our SIBR matching grant if there were fewer or none SIBRs and sitters, if that funding fully went away. I know it's being affected some other agencies are still going full steam ahead, so it really just depends. But the funding that is coming from my office is all state dollars.
Great, thanks, Director. Okay, we just kind of given the time. We're going to move on, but thank you so much. It's great to hear from you. And next we're going to go to Patrick Gannon, also out of the New Mexico Economic Development Office. And this is in the Job Training Initiative Program department. And Patrick's official title is Program Manager for JTIP, or Job Training Initiative Program. I've worked with Patrick for years. He's amazing. I'll hand it over to you. Excited to have you.
Great. Excuse me, allergies today also, so I'll do my best. And thank you very much for the introduction, Mia. Yeah, so I'm going to do a fairly high-level overview of the program. Normally, this presentation takes a little bit longer, and it's more comprehensive, but given the time constraints I have, I'm going to kind of go through this as quickly as I can. And let's go ahead and get started. Okay. And if I can get my slides to move, I'll be in a good place. Let's see, here we go. All right, so the JTIP program, it was legislated in state statute in 1972. So this year we're in our 53rd program year. The Economic Development Department does receive annual appropriations to support this program. And really the program is designed to work with companies in various specific industry sectors that are expanding their operations in the state and creating new jobs. We primarily work with companies that are what we call economic-based companies. And for those who don't know what that terminology is, it's essentially companies that produce a product or have a service, and the majority of the company's revenue is generated from a customer base out of state. They're basically exporting that product or service and bringing new dollars into the state's economy. The program really allows us to assist in job creation and essentially provides employment and skill development opportunities for residents of the state. So what JTIP does is it reimburses companies for a portion of the wages associated with new hires that are being new jobs that are created by the companies. Companies that are eligible for JTIP also would be eligible then for a number of tax credits that are available through Taxation and Revenue Department, specifically the High Wage Jobs Tax Credit and the Rural Jobs Tax Credit. I won't go into the details of what those entail, but be more than happy to share some information at a later date for those who might want to learn a little bit more about that. Depending on where the company is located, will determine our base rate of reimbursement. We have a range of anywhere between 50 to 75%. So basically, we'd be looking at covering 50 to 75% of the wages anywhere between 2 to 6 months. Urban companies typically qualify for the 50% reimbursement. Companies in areas that have less than a population of 60,000 qualify for a base reimbursement of 65%. And of course, companies that are located in smaller communities under 15,000 would qualify for funding assistance up to 75%. We do have some additional incentives built up on that. Ultimately, though, companies can receive anywhere between up to maybe a 90% reimbursement with some of those additional incentives that are tacked onto the program. As part of our application process, companies are required to go into the ONET system. It's basically a website that's affiliated with the U.S. Department of Labor, and look up those jobs that they're applying for jobs for us. And that website will define essentially how many hours a position will qualify for. So essentially, the more disciplined the occupation, the more we appropriate to that. We can award anywhere between 320 hours of the full 1,040 hours, which is 6 months of support. We primarily work with companies in manufacturing. I'd say 95% of all of our appropriations are into companies that are doing manufacturing. However, we are seeing kind of a shift in that over the last couple of years. We are seeing a lot of companies more in the service sector, such as engineering, software development companies, early stage startup companies that kind of fall into those criteria that are growing their operations and exporting their services. We're seeing a lot more companies coming to us for funding considerations. We also work with companies in the green economy. These would be companies that aren't really manufacturing or exporting their service. These would be more like energy efficiency operations, solar technology companies, and so on. Expanding. So when we work with companies, we have to demonstrate that they are expanding. But we do work with companies that are existing here in New Mexico, those that are relocating or considering relocating to the state. And of course, early stage startup companies that we have specific criteria that has to be met in order for us to leverage our resources. Typically, they're startup companies that are within 18 months transitioning from R&D into commercialization. When we do work with companies, because JTIP is funded with, again, the legislative appropriations, i.e. taxpayer dollars, we are required to do a financial due diligence of every company. So depending on where that company is in its scale, meaning if it's a mature company or at its early stage, we'll determine the type of documentation that we do require. For the purposes of this call, I'm going to kind of focus on just real quickly on early stage startup companies that we do require a little more rigorous documentation gathering. So evidence, basically what we need to demonstrate is the company has sufficient operating capital to cover a burn rate for 2 years. And so that can come, companies would provide a variety of documentation to verify and validate that. So, it could be, federal grants, it could be they have equity investment in the company. They could have, lines of credit, purchase order agreements, anything that's really going to demonstrate that they have sufficient operating capital or access to operating capital. And that's kind of done through a review with the company specifically to kind of drill down some of those points. The positions themselves, they have to be full-time, of course, at least 32 hours a week here in New Mexico, and directly related to the production or the delivery of the service. The program does allow us to cover interns, which is a great add-on to the program that we put in a couple of years ago. And this next slide will have a little more detail on what that entails. Essentially, interns are individuals who are currently enrolled in at one of our institutions of higher learning and likely in their last semester or the last 2 semesters leading to graduation, or have already separated within a year from their graduation and being brought on as an intern. We do cover a portion of those wages, half of those wages, or a minimum of half, I should say, up to 1,040 hours, depending on how those jobs are classified in that database I spoke of. In order for a company to realize our reimbursement, basically the benefit of the funds, the intern would need to have completed their education and then secondly, offered a full-time position with the company, in which case then the company can claim funding for the internship, but then also it's possible that we would be able to fund the full-time position an intern is transitioning into. So it's a great component. Right now, we have about 65 interns on our books with companies that are currently working with our institutions of higher learning. The positions themselves, well, they must be new hires to the company. The individuals must reside in New Mexico for at least one continuous year at any point in time in their life prior to their start with the company. There was an exception made to that rule a couple years ago that if a company is creating a high wage job, which is in Albuquerque, anything over 60,000 a year, and that individual has less than a 1-year history, as an example, it would still qualify for funding under the program, just at a reduced rate of reimbursement. In this instance, a 30% reimbursement. I'm trying to talk fast. I'm hoping I'm doing okay on time. The application process, a couple of options. We on the economic development website under business services, we do have a JTIP eligibility questionnaire. We do encourage companies to enter some core information for us, and then we typically do a follow-up with the company within 24 hours, set up a meeting to get a better understanding of the company, the hiring needs, their expansion plans, and all those criteria. If we've made the determination that the company is meeting our eligibility, we open up an application, and we work with the company to develop that application to bring it to our JTIP board for funding considerations. We have a board that basically approves all funding. And that funding can be for 1 job or 500. It's all dependent upon what the company is likely to do within a 1-year contract agreement. Once our board approves the funding, the company has a 1-year grant agreement or a contract with the Economic Development Department to hopefully find and fill as many of those jobs that were awarded within that timeline. At the midpoint of the contract, they are required to report back to us on the successes of their hiring. And when they start the process of claiming the funding, the claiming comes back directly as cash reimbursement to the company. That could be a check cut directly to the company or a cash reimbursement. JTIP is considered grant funding, so it's not considered revenue. So however a company wants to report it on the books is not really what we talk about, but it's not reported revenue for the state. We have a small team of individuals that work with companies throughout the contract period, obviously from the beginning of the development of the application all the way to award and all throughout the contract period to make sure the company is successful with their JTIP funded project. And finally, key contacts here, myself, Avelina Borrego, excuse me, who's on this call today. She's the JTIP marketing coordinator. She is essentially the front person who basically meets with companies directly, qualifies the company, and gets them into our application process. Lynette King is our fiscal administrator. Once companies get awarded JTIP funding, she is everything post-approval to ensure the company is on target with all of its record-keeping compliance requirements and dispersing of the funds. Real quickly, last year, we worked with about 85 companies and awarded about $27 million through the program. Year to date, our fiscal year starts July 1. We've already worked with 54 companies and have awarded approximately 24 million to date. So with that, again, I'm talking rather fast, so I think there's still time for questions if anybody has any. Thank you so much for the opportunity.
Thanks, Patrick. This is such a cool program. Full disclosure, in my previous role, non-NMTC, I worked at a tech startup and facilitated the funding through this and really enjoyed working with the JTIP team, but it was also a great way for the company to grow.
Thank you, Mia.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks for being here. I don't think we have
Absolutely.
any questions. I don't think we have any questions. So if you think of something, we'll pop it into the chat. Oh wait, Jacqueline mentioned that her and her husband live in Arkansas, but their business is here. And she's wondering if you have or will ever implement business relocation grants for tech businesses to relocate to New Mexico.
Yeah, not under the JTIP program. I mean, companies pretty much have to establish, residency, have a physical location for us to work with the company. But in terms of funding to help a company relocate to the state, that I don't believe is under the purview of the program.
Not yet, yeah. Okay, and then Jacqueline, it sounds like if you have your businesses here, it may be worth exploring if you have a physical location. So she says thank you.
Okay.
Great. Thank you so much, Patrick. Thanks, Avelina. We're going to shift our focus now to Los Alamos National Labs. And there are two really great programs under Los Alamos National Labs. First, we're going to hear from Molly Cernick. Molly, I'm sorry, I think I maybe mispronounced your last name. And then we're going to hear from Julia Weiss. And Molly is the program manager for entrepreneurial programs with the New Mexico Laboratory Embedded Entrepreneur Program, otherwise known as LEAP. And this is a really cool program, so we're excited to have her share more.
Thank you, Mia.
Yeah.
Share.
And I'm so sorry if I botched your last name. Do you mind just
that's fine. It's Chernychek.
But Chernychek, thank you. I apologize.
Miss the CH for obvious reasons. It's fine. So I'm just going to give a brief overview of the New Mexico Lab Embedded Entrepreneur Program. We've been around since 2021. We think we're finally getting into a really great pace in how we're doing this program. We work very closely with the Los Alamos Commerce and Development Corporation, the state of New Mexico, and the National Nuclear Security Administration. Our focus is to really empower deep tech entrepreneurs to get their deep tech innovations into the market. And we expect a lot of these to be able to tackle really tough problems, whether they're commercial or in the national security / government realm. To give just a overview, this is a 2-year paid fellowship for deep tech entrepreneurs. We help you by giving you expertise from Los Alamos National Lab. So we basically fund somebody or a team, basically the equivalent of a half-time expert staff member to work on your biggest technology problems that you can't solve with your small team. As the fellow, you get up to $140K per year. This includes, this is in a stipend. In addition, you get some benefits, travel. This is a non-dilutable grant to you to build this company and move it as fast as you can in this 2 years. Our focus is go to market, go to market, go to market. We recognize how hard it is for deep tech companies to do this, and especially in the state of New Mexico, where we have less population than most, but we have really important mission throughout the state. And so this is our focus, is getting these companies up and running in our state, or at least to have this capability, whether it's in our supply chain or additional product. Our program areas are advanced materials, biotech, AI, quantum, advanced computing, energy security, and space systems. Just so you know, right now we are taking applications for cohort 5. They will close about 11:59 p.m. Mountain Time on May 8th, and then we'll start the evaluation process. We will choose our finalists in September. We expect to have 3, and we will then onboard the new group that is for cohort 5. We'll onboard them on January 15th and start the program. And who should apply? Well, if you're a deep tech innovator right now and you have a really cool idea that you think could make an impact, and you feel like you're just getting a bunch of momentum in terms of you've got some early traction, you may have a proof of concept, you're probably at a TRL 3, maybe 4, you might have a phase 1 or 2 SBIR, you might have some other type of grant, you and at least another partner are full-time committed, and you have an intention to scale and secure funding. We really want these companies and their product solution to grow and be big. So if you want to be more of a lifestyle company, this is not the program for you. We expect a commitment to New Mexico for 2 years. And with the fellow who is selected for this program, we do have a number of companies that are in 2 different places. And then you need to be a U.S. citizen or a lawful permanent resident. What you expect in this program, in addition to working on your technical collaboration with a team at Los Alamos, we have a very intense curriculum because we know how hard it is to get a deep tech startup funded. So we bring in experts from around the country. You will be in at least 50 sessions a year as we work on helping you figure out, what it is, what your beachhead market is, what your product solution is, who your top customer is, et cetera. As a result, we have a really strong network that is unique because it's part government, it's part national security, but we also have a very strong network of about 250 investors that we work very closely with. One of the things that we do every quarter is we have our LEAP companies pitch in front of a different group each time of venture capitalists and angel investors, and they give them constant feedback. They're not guarded because you're not asking them for money, and they don't feel like they have to be guarded with feedback. So it really helps you get to where you need to be with that pitch. And we bring in a company called Habit Story. We really work hard on entrepreneurial mindset because we know through a lot of testing at Los Alamos and in this program that sometimes it's a hard transition from being a STEM trained individual to being a entrepreneur. And so we really work on what are your good habits, entrepreneur habits, what are your negative ones, how do you adjust them, and how do you work with your startup team together to better minimize the negative habits and really improve the positive. These are our companies that have come through our 4 cohorts so far. We've had 3 companies in space, 2 in advanced materials, 3 in biotech, 1 in energy, and 1 who's an IoT company, but he identifies as a clean tech company because his solution is actually going to be working with tracking nuclear waste as one of his applications. And so when we look at our successes, we're, as I've mentioned, we've really focused in on getting people to be comfortable in front of investors, getting the right messaging, this and that. And as a result, in 3 years, these companies have raised $30 million. As you can see, also, New Mexico Economic Development Department has played a role. I mean, this is one of the few places you can come where you have, quite frankly, pretty easy access to investors. Again, small state connected to the state investment fund, a number of investors, in the Bay Area, out east, wherever, have New Mexico funds in their investment fund, and so they need to be investing a percentage of that into these companies. In addition, in terms of JTIP, in terms of all these energy awards Nora's talked to you about, our LEAP companies have done a great job of getting those funds into their companies as well, and it's making a huge difference. Obviously, being who we are, we have a lot of connections to the government, and a lot of government funding is coming through there. What two of our companies have done is also done a dual appointment with the Center for Nanoscale Materials. That's CENT. It's a really great opportunity to be able to use a clean room. The two companies use people in CENT, actually, whether it's Los Alamos experts are both at the Sandy and the Los Alamos. There's two locations, and they've been able to really move faster because they have expertise in really unique facilities and machinery, access to a clean room, and access to the expertise. Our companies have hired over 40 high-tech employees over the last 3 years, and this year we had two of our companies receive Forbes 30 Under 30. So if you want to look at application or more questions, you can look at nmleap.com/facts. So I'll stop there.
Thank you, Molly. Really exciting information.
Sure.
Yeah, thank you so much. We had, Eric had asked if you could share a little bit about the successes with the program. And I think he asked that before this last slide. So Eric's giving me a thumbs up. Really cool to see the companies and hear the story. And you guys are making a huge impact. And that is the remaining question. Candace got the other ones. I think so we're good there. More specific to application and how things are happening. And then we do have a question from Emmanuel going back to Patrick. I just want to give a last call on any LEAP questions before we jump into that one. Okay, thank you. All right, and then Patrick, Emmanuel asked for a startup based in West Texas. He wants to know if there's any reciprocity. I don't think so, right? He has to be in state to get JTIP. He can't be near state.
That's correct.
Okay, and then his second part, thank you. His second part is registration with the New Mexico Workforce Connection required for JTIP.
That is a requirement, although we don't make it a condition that they find individuals solely through the workforce connection offices throughout the state. It's just that if a company has vacancies, we do encourage them to post the jobs in the state workforce system to make those jobs available to those who are seeking employment.
Thanks. And then we did get a question about LEAP. So going back to LEAP, handing it back over to you, Molly. Curtis wants to know if there's some type of networking that should be done before submitting an application for the LEAP program.
Yeah, Curtis, feel free to reach out to us, New Mexico LEAP. We're nmleap@lanl.gov. We are happy to talk to anybody who's interested. We actually have a lot of people who just touch base with us, and we see if they're a fit and they see if we're a fit. So feel free to reach out to us, and we can answer more questions.
I double down with you, Candace. Thanks, Molly. That's great. Okay, and then Heather threw us a curveball. So Molly, I'm going to hand this one to you since you're an expert. Heather says she's sorry she joined late, but is there a clear definition on what would be considered a tech startup?
Yeah, so we classify it as deep tech. So we're looking at really hard problems. It's things like, can you, put it this way, if you we're trying to align your companies with Los Alamos National Laboratory. So they're doing a lot of, research in all kinds of areas. If it's something that a company could help you do more effectively and efficiently, then that's probably more just a tech company, and we would push you that direction because it would be far faster and easier. But if you've got something you're trying to figure out, like Space Kinetic, trying to figure out how to throw things in space and keep a literally an arm up there that can throw things and not go topsy-turvy when it throws, that's something that is what we consider deep tech when we're looking at how to stabilize that arm. So, just look at what Los Alamos does. If you think that there's things there that could help you on the website, or again, just send us an email at that, and we can give you an idea if there's an alignment or not.
Great. Okay, cool.
Cybersecurity for us it just depends. If right now we're interested in cybersecurity and quantum, for instance, again, we're looking at more of the deep tech, what's happening in about 5 years versus what's happening right now in the market.
Thank you, Molly. All right, and John, we can connect offline just about sister programs. We're focused on New Mexico here in this call. Molly, thank you so much. Great to hear about LEAP. Thanks for all the good work. It's so exciting we have the labs here in our state. And I'm going to hand it over to Julia Weiss. And Julia is also with LANL. She's the program manager for regional programs with the New Mexico Small Business Assistance and Technology Readiness Initiative. Excuse me. Take it away, Julia.
All right. Good afternoon, everyone. It's a pleasure to see some of you and meet all of you. As mentioned, my name is Julia Wise, and I'm a program manager here at Los Alamos. I want to lead with everyone on this call should just have their businesses here in New Mexico for the opportunities that actually are being presented on this call. And in part, and in no small part, because of the presence of the labs and the ability of the labs to partner uniquely with New Mexico businesses. And I want to be clear, other national labs are not able to partner with or support the development and the growth of businesses like the labs here in New Mexico are, Los Alamos and Sandia. And so really to that end, we have a couple of programs that provide technical assistance to any small New Mexico business who essentially has ever wanted to tap into the expertise and capabilities at the labs. And so I'm going to cover our two programs that really drive innovation into the businesses here in the state and help you as business owners solve your technical challenges by accessing the immense resources here in New Mexico. And so let me share my screen, hopefully with some success. Right. I'm hoping you are looking at some version of a presentation because my screen just went black. Okay.
Yep, we can see it. Do you want me to share? Julia, if you want to send it to me, I can share if that's helpful.
It's all right. If it's up, I think we're good.
It's up.
Okay.
Yep.
All right. And so to that end, I'm going to talk about two programs, the NMSBA program, the New Mexico Small Business Assistance Program, and our Technology Readiness Initiative, or TRIGGER. I'm going to start with NMSBA. So NMSBA is a 20-year partnership between Los Alamos and Sandia National Laboratories and the state of New Mexico. It was created to enable New Mexico's businesses to access expertise and capabilities of Los Alamos and Sandia and use those expertise to solve their technical challenges. Through this program, you can essentially think of it as renting a scientist's time. So through this program, any small business in New Mexico, so with a New Mexico address and the New Mexico tax ID number, is able to come to the labs and say, help me. And in turn, you will receive between about $20,000 and $102,000 of a researcher's time to help you address your challenges. This program is also particularly unique because it's industry agnostic. So we've worked with cookie companies in Albuquerque. We've worked with biotech firms up in Los Alamos. It doesn't matter. If we can help you, we will. And so, over those 20 years, the laboratories have worked with over 3,000 businesses here in the state. It's resulted in 13,000 jobs But it's really about taking that expertise and using it to solve whatever your challenge is. It's an exceptionally good program for validation. It's a very good program for testing. It's a very good program for just helping you hone in on an idea. Of interest, the partnership of the state comes in that these programs are made possible by a tax credit from the state of New Mexico. And so in the past, these programs have also been considered matching funds for federal grants. And so this is an opportunity to do some of that initial research, have those matching funds on hand, and be able to approach other grantors for larger tranches of money. NMSBA is open year-round, so you are welcome to request technical assistance when you need it. It is open to businesses to apply in consecutive years. So if you have one specific challenge one year and then you have a different challenge the next year, you can apply and request technical assistance both years. Again, it's meant to be flexible. It's meant to capture the intellectual capital and expertise and capabilities that are available up on the Hill and bring it to bear on your business to help you get where you're needing to go. It's also a really good way to build a relationship and understand the capabilities and capacities at the laboratories. So you can use it to start to explore how you might, as a tech company, set up a deeper relationship, what is available to you, and the best way to go about doing that. Switching gears now for our technology readiness initiative, this is Trigger. So as you know, and I think I've made this clear, but the labs are really good at solving hard problems. And building technology companies is exactly that. It's a really hard problem, right? And so part of that comes in maturing technologies, particularly those early stage technologies. I know we're all familiar with that valley of death. And Trigger is a program that is designed to help a company access laboratory expertise to help them mature technologies that have either been developed at the national laboratories or in partnership with the national laboratories. So Trigger is for businesses that have a license to laboratory technology or have a cooperative research and development agreement with the laboratory. That business is then eligible for another $150,000 per year of laboratory work, research, intellectual property creation to help you get to that next commercial step. So bring that product or service closer to the market. It builds upon the work of NMSBA. It, again, is not necessarily cash or goods. It's not the non-dilutive capital. The state already has that figured out. What this is the access to the billions of dollars of research expertise, machinery, et cetera, up on the Hill and down in the Valley in Albuquerque and Sandia. So we just want to talk about these two complementary programs, the NMSBA program and the Trigger program. And so the next question is, how do you access them? I just wanted to lead with, you go to either website, the NMSBA program, it's a non-competitive program. You hit request for assistance, and you will be paired with a project manager who will guide you through the process. The New Mexico Trigger program, it's the same process. You go to nmtrigger.org. You'll be paired with a project manager who can help you navigate both of these processes, as well as please don't hesitate to reach out to me if you have any other questions. And if you're looking for a more face-to-face experience, on May 20th, Los Alamos, we're having a speed dating with scientists event. So you are welcome to join us, meet some of our scientists, talk to them about the technical challenges that you're facing, and we can stand up some projects then and there. I will take questions, and all of this will be included in the follow-up.
Thank you so much, Julia. We do have one question in the chat. It's from Heather, and this is for the New Mexico Small Business Assistance. She's asking, is this program only for deep tech? Because I think there's, you mentioned something about any business, but I know there's a technical aspect in there.
So the technical aspect comes in on the lab side. This program's industry agnostic. We've worked with Snuggle Cup Cookies in Albuquerque to help their cookies remain puffy and snuggly. We've worked with Santa Fe Brewing Company to help you figure out how to get your yeast out of your beers at the right ratios. We've worked with an artist, a printmaker in Silver City, to help improve her print carving process. We've worked with an artist here in Santa Fe who actually we granted access to our firing range, and she took a series of images of her art being blown up in unique ways. That was actually shown at the Met Museum in New York. So when I say any challenge you're facing, it's absolutely worth a try to reach out and see what we can tackle it. You would be, I'm constantly surprised and in awe of the depth of knowledge that we've got here. And so I would not hesitate to reach out.
Very cool. Thank you. Another question, this is from Paul. Do the SBCs maintain ownership of any IP developed under the Trigger program?
So that is determined through our cooperative research and development agreements. It depends on essentially what you come in with, but yes, there is certain levels of ownership, and then if you were working with any of our federal laboratories, there will always be a level of governmental margin rates that are applied. But we do address a lot of these concerns within the creative process and initially within some background intellectual property reviews to ensure that those who come in with unique pieces of IP emerge with those unique pieces of IP.
Great. Thank you so much, Julia. Any other questions for Julia? All right, great. Wonderful to hear from Lionel. Molly, thank you again. Julia, thank you again. And we're next going to move on to Q Station. And today we have Tony Balzano. She is the Vice President of Strategy and Communications for Q Station. So Tony, take it away.
Thanks so much, Mia. Thank you so much for doing this. I am going to share my screen really quick. Make sure you can see this. All right, perfect. So thank you guys for having us. I can't say enough good things about Molly and Julia and Lionel and the work that they do to help support tech businesses in New Mexico. Like Julia was saying, it's so unique, the relationship that we have here in New Mexico, the relationship we have with our labs. It's very, very unique. So Q Station, we're part of a much bigger group of what we call space assets that we are referring to as our Space Valley region. So all across the state, we have amazing space assets, whether it's our laboratories, our universities, but all of these, we have this deep, long history in New Mexico with space. And so we have this unique positioning when it comes to all of these different assets and the work that we're all doing in space. And so as a result of that, Q Station has started to put together kind of this asset grouping and connecting people through the Space Valley region. So you can see we've got the Air Force Research Lab, who we work with directly and who funds and provides the opportunity for us to have Q Station, which I'll talk about in a minute. But we also work with like Lionel and Sandia, the Rapid Capabilities Office. We work with Space Systems Command, Space Dynamics Lab. So we have all these really, really unique assets in a very condensed area here in New Mexico. So Q Station is a very unique opportunity for us. It's an innovation hub that we were tasked to put together by the Air Force Research Lab mid-COVID. And the concept behind Q Station was to provide a space where we have scientists and engineers at the lab, at the Air Force Research Lab, who they wanted to get off base to maybe perhaps, encourage their creativity and innovation by also helping them make relationships or have collisions, as we like to refer to them, with small businesses, providing this opportunity to kind of get them to think more entrepreneurial. So we put Q Station together, and immediately this was a big hit. We have over 300 members in just the last couple of years. We host a ton of tech networking events. I think everybody on this call that's spoken to you today has hosted something of some nature at Q Station. We do all of that for free because we just want to build our ecosystem and provide opportunities for everyone to connect. We also have our own internal programs that we work on, but we support all kinds of different business development opportunities in the entire ecosystem. So anybody doing anything in tech, we probably are hosting or part of or connected to in some way. We also are very, very proud of our STEM outreach events. We know that we all need a workforce for the future, and that is vital to what we're doing here in the state. And so as part of that, we've created very unique programs to support STEM. In fact, in just 2 weeks, we're hosting our STEM signing day, where graduating seniors who are going to pursue careers in STEM education will sign letters of intent, just like sports kids do when they sign intent to play for different teams. We do that with STEM. And then we also host the STEMmies in the summer, which is our STEM and Excellence Awards, which honors teachers and students and nonprofits and all kinds of different groups for their work in STEM. We also host tons of educational events and conferences. I'll talk a little bit about one we have coming up here in a second, but we work not just with the Air Force, but like I said, we work with Sandia. We love our relationship with Los Alamos, Space Rapid Capabilities Office, and Space Systems Command, among just a few. So that's expanding all the time. Our memberships are free. So if you want to come and use our co-working space at Q Station, it is free to you as a tech company. You do have to apply, and it can be any kind of tech. We do specialize in space and directed energy technology companies, but you can be any kind of tech company and be a part of Q Station. We never know when we're going to find a great idea, and so we're always looking for those amazing relationships. Again, our focus is to try to bring in technology from the outside into the labs. And so that comes through relationships and connections that we try to build at Q Station. In the next year, because we've been so successful over the last couple of years, we're actually looking at a very large Q Station expansion in 2026. And this will give us the opportunity to provide low-cost office space for startups, and also office space for more established companies, space companies from around the country that want to do work here in New Mexico because of our assets. We'll have classrooms and event space just like we do now. And then we're looking forward to the opportunity to really working with other laboratories outside of AFRL, which DOD and DOE offices hopefully will come and visit and be part of our Q Station growth in the future. We have a very unique opportunity coming up in June where we host our Space Regulatory Boot Camp. This is, if you are in space, then you know how complicated and how ever evolving the regulations around private sector work in space is becoming. It's very, very complicated. It changes almost every day. And so what we like to do is provide this very deep dive into all those different regulations, how you work through them and around them, and connect to others that are working on these projects. So it's been a highly successful program. We're hosting it June 9th through the 11th. If this is something that kind of fits your spectrum, even if you're not here in New Mexico and you want to come and see what we are doing here and understand the lay of the land when it comes to space regulations, then we encourage you to come and take part of this. We also have other programs that we operate out of Q Station, our space tech cohort. We do have a lot of overlap, actually. One of our companies last year was also part of the LEAP program, so they were part of both cohorts, and that was rarefied. But we've been very successful in helping small tech companies be able to access federal awards. So we did $9.5 million in federal research awards over the last couple of years, and $8.2 million in private investment. And then we've seen this really unique thing where our cohort members actually end up partnering together, even though they have very different technologies, but they end up partnering together to go after contracts as a partnership. So we're very proud of those activities, and cohorts are changing a little bit this year because the Air Force actually sees this as a very unique opportunity, and they want us to really hyper-focus this work. And part of the sweet sauce of this is we provide free of charge, again, IP counsel and law help marketing and public relations work, business coaching, government contracting support, and we also help you can connect with capital. So all of that for free. So it's a pretty amazing program. These are just a few of the companies that we've worked with over the last few years. And there's my contact. We do have some, I'm going to exit out of this. We do have some new programs that we're working on right now. Let's see, stop sharing that. There we go. We have a few new programs that are just getting ramped up this year. We have an STTR program. So if you are somebody who's going after an STTR and you need a partner with someone, usually you're partnering with a university, we can make it very easy, very quick. Reach out to us. It's a very new but very successful program. We've had over 40 companies already using that. And then our main focus with our programs is to help connect companies, your innovation, your technology with the laboratory and needs that they may have internally. So we have to develop new innovations very, very quickly in the Air Force. We have lots of challenges, obviously, when it comes to space. And so the faster we can get that innovation in and get you connected, the better off. And so a lot of these programs are going to be very tailored to reaching out to tech companies and finding a way for you to work directly with the Air Force Research Lab and other government entities, like I said, Space RCO and others. So I encourage all of you, if you're in Albuquerque or in New Mexico, take a minute and stop by Q Station. We'd love to have you visit. Just ring the doorbell. They'll let you in. We love to collect your card, talk to you, visit with you a little bit. And really what we think we're great at, and I hope we are, is connecting people with resources and other companies and government entities that may help them grow and develop their business.
Tony, thank you so much. Really exciting stuff. We do have a couple of questions.
Sure.
Victor wants to know, what is the power of moments reference?
I'm sorry?
Victor?
No, sorry. I'll jump in. That was my fault.
Okay.
Okay.
But when you talked about like the senior signing day,
Yeah.
it reminded me of a book called Power of Moments, where they made the connection of athletes signing up, and
Yeah.
so I wasn't sure that was a
Okay.
reference to that.
Gotcha.
Yeah,
Oh,
sorry.
no, but no, we just, what we always try to do is celebrate STEM, right? We see that a lot of times those are students that don't get quite the accolades that like a student athlete might get, right? And so
Yeah.
we wanted an opportunity to really make them feel special and make them feel like this is a good thing they're committing to, is a STEM career, and we support you. And so through that, we provide scholarships. We do a random drawing, $1,000 scholarship and other things. But the Air Force Research Lab is deeply dedicated to supporting STEM in New Mexico, and we're always looking for ways to do that.
That's amazing. That's awesome.
Thank you.
Great, thanks, Tony. Okay, we do have one more presenter. So please stick around because we're really excited to have Roadrunner Venture Studios with us. But I also want to make sure that we got all of the questions for Q Station and Tony. I know Eric's looking for a good link or info on the space regulation event. Should they just go to the Q Station website for that?
Yes, you sure can. There should be a link on ours, and it's qstation.tech.
Awesome. Okay. And then I'll share your contact information. Sonia asked for that. I think that's it. Anything else for Tony? Thank you so much. It's a pleasure to have you.
Thank you, guys. Appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's really cool too to see how all these organizations are working together. And you can really, kind of like amplify and partner, double dip, maybe even. So we've saved the best for last. Miguel, thank you so much for hanging with us. We're going to hear today from Roadrunner Venture Studios, which is a very unique organization. They're really doing something different. Here today is Miguel Delgado, who's an associate with the Venture Studio. So Miguel, take it away.
Hey, let me share my screen here. I don't know if I'd say best for last, but I'll take what I can get. So thank you.
No pressure, right?
Am my screen sharing properly?
Yep,
Okay, awesome.
perfect.
Yeah, as Mia alluded to, I'm Miguel Delgado. I'm an associate here at Roadrunner Studios, and we're a deep tech investment fund headquartered here in downtown Albuquerque. Our mission is to commercialize technologies from academic institutions. We envision a reality where every piece of technology discovers a purpose in enhancing humanity. We don't believe in a world where any kind of innovation goes to waste, and we want to work with our well-funded national labs and respected universities right here in New Mexico to build some of the world's most transformative companies, doing so in sectors like energy, climate, defense, space, advanced manufacturing, and advanced compute. Looking back, the best kind of catalysts are government dollars because they act as a stepping stone to many large commercial markets. And traditionally, the government hasn't been a particularly large funder in deep tech relative to other areas. However, seen here in the depiction, since the turn of the decade, the government has really begun to take larger and larger strides to become a market leader in some of these critical sectors. They want to onshore supply chains, data centers, and manufacturing capabilities, amongst many other things, so we can become less reliant on foreign adversaries. It all starts with R&D, and the government's committed to expanding its efforts here. And we really believe that we're just in the early innings of this deep tech renaissance. And this is why we exist and think we're solving a really pivotal problem in a company's young development, sometimes also referred to as the Valley of Death. Academia is profoundly good at scientific research and finding innovation in a lab setting. However, it's a big leap of faith to go from the lab bench to raising millions of dollars from institutional investors. So we saw a lot of great companies dying on the vine here and having a hard time getting to that next step. And while government grants can help bridge some of this gap and are super helpful, it's often too much to ask of a really young company. And this is where the studio comes into the picture. We infuse capital, welcome them into our space, and help build and de-risk their technology at extremely high speeds. And we really work backwards from later stage funders to understand what they want to see in a company in any given sector before it becomes investable. And before getting deeper into kind of how the studio operates and how we build, I want to also mention that we have a fund that sits on top of the studio. So while the studio helps us build companies, we also have a separate vehicle that can help studio companies in the fundraising efforts post-studio. And we have the flexibility to write larger checks and follow on to attract other investors. And this really ties into the New Mexico superpower. And Molly mentioned it earlier, but the state's invested money into some of the top VCs in the world, and they all have mandates to invest some of that capital back into Mexico-based companies. Some of these funds include Khosla, Lux, Playground, DCVC, Airbus, and a whole lot more. Detailed is this is kind of a high-level roadmap of how we incubate and build companies. Over the last few years, we've really tried to hire studio staff with a diverse set of skill sets that can offer our founders a lot of different things. This goes from customer discovery, product road mapping, economic analysis, go-to-market strategy, all the way to recruiting, sales, finding pilot customers, grant writing, branding, IP services, and even back office accounting. We really build through four mechanisms. The earliest is incubation, where we license IP and build it internally before we launch it. On top of that, we have a FIR program where we hire bright entrepreneurs to work with Roadrunner to find their next big and bright idea. We also have a company in residence where we bring a company in that's already incorporated. We welcome them into the studio for acceleration. And then finally, sitting on top of that is just a traditional VC investment at the pre-seed, the seed stage through our fund. And important to mention, one of our deepest partnerships is with America's Frontier Fund. They're solely focused on defense and national security, investing at the Series A to C stage. And this partnership is really invaluable to us because of the access it gives us and our portfolio companies to various government entities that are extremely pivotal to getting early government grants and subsequent contracts. Here's a kind of quick view of some of the companies in the studio right now. We have Hydrosonics, which makes low carbon methanol, and Dexterity is creating industrial automation robotic systems. Halo is creating domestic graphite, and Sun4 is creating sustainable aviation fuel. So this is a bit of the flavor of the companies that we build. We also made our first larger seed investment this past January. It's a company using in situ mining to change the way we approach traditional mining via excavation. And the company relocated to Albuquerque from Finland. This is some of the folks on our team. Hopefully you've seen some of these faces in the ecosystem. If not, make sure you introduce yourself. Yeah, finally, thanks everyone for the time. Hopefully I kept that brief and open the floor to any questions.
Thank you, Miguel. That's great. Thanks for sharing a little bit. I don't see any hands up. We don't have any questions in the chat. No
You're letting me off the
curveballs.
hook.
I know. We got to think of something now. Andrew is definitely interested in us sharing your email. And so I'm happy to add that to the list of resources we're going to share after the call, or if you want to drop that into the chat.
Perfect.
And Stippo has a question. Go ahead, Stippo.
Hello. Could you tell us about IP, and when coming with an idea to you, how should one start? Have some provisional patents on their idea, or just come with the idea and we sign a non-disclosure agreement? Or could you tell us a little bit about that? Thank you.
Yeah, hi, Stipo. Really, any of the above. It can be a patent, it can be an idea, it can be something on the back of a napkin. Really sort of early stage ideation is kind of where we excel. So that's a great place to start, is any of those. And Mia will share sort of a submission link so you can, one, get in contact with myself directly on what you're building, or submit something through our website, or myself and other folks on our team will look at it and reach out to you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Deepo. Great question. Any other questions, folks? All right, Miguel, I guess you're off the hook. All right. Well, thank you again, Miguel. Great to see you. Thanks for sharing a little bit about Roadrunner. And just want to thank all of our presenters. Big round of applause for everybody today for sharing the amazing resources here in New Mexico. I hope everybody's convinced and you now see why it really is the ultimate launchpad for success. And we have great food. We should have had somebody present. We should have like a food critic talk about how it's world-class food all over the place. You can't go wrong. Amazing people. All right. Thank you all for attending. Thanks for staying over with us.
I was gonna say you should have on some of those food influencers. They've been blowing up on my Instagram feed now, and in Albuquerque, and I'm following all of them, and it's been pretty cool because I'm finding all these neat places to eat. There you go.
I know, right? They're like from out of state. You learn about great places locally. That's because we're all working to make this a great place to live and to eat. Thanks, Andrew. All right, thanks everybody. Have a great rest of your week. Reach out to us if we can help with anything, and we'll get these resources to you by tomorrow. We just have to compile a few things. Thanks again. Take care.